How you doing, Jimmy?
Hey, pretty good.
Good to hear. Good to hear. Me too.
Hi, Douglas. Okay. Okay. I just got here, and I need to visit the little boy's room. Is that right over to you? So are we the only two here?
I think so at this point.
Huh. Okay. I hope Jane Holtzclaw is on today. Didn't see her name listed when I registered, but she and I had a good chat yesterday. You know, she's a psychiatrist.
Yes.
And then went to seminary after having a medical degree and all that. And and she's proposing maybe doing a Zoom group therapy for members of our churches that maybe are feeling really isolated and stressed.
Yeah. She talked with me about this too. I thought she was
okay.
Us clergy of the presbytery, but she may have expanded it since she talked with me.
Well, anyway, we had a 20-minute conversation yesterday, and I thoroughly endorse the idea. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I would be interested in that.
If she can, pursue that, I really hope that something can come. She can churn this quick, because our monthly newsletter comes out, in just a couple days here for May. I mean, we have to put it to bed and get it ready. So
yeah. You talking newsletter for the presbytery or for
no,
your
from Westminster, so that we could tell our people, okay, here's a Presbyterian minister who is also a psychiatrist who is willing to do a Zoom, and invite you into a Zoom group therapy. She and I talked. I said, I don't think it would be good for you to get into a one-on-one kind of situation with people, but a group thing, I think, yeah, where people just kind of share their fears, their anxieties, their what they're going through. I think that would be really valuable.
Sure.
So I don't know. I hope
Yeah,
she's on today. She's
Pardon?
been on before on Wednesdays.
Yes, yeah. She's been on most of the meetings.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah, I would appreciate that because my only psych came from intro to psych. And well, I knew my professor's family and I swear he experimented with his kids. I didn't pay attention to what he
You know,
said.
I put a disclaimer in my church directory in Beatrice. I said, the minister is willing to meet with you to discuss spiritual problems. He is not a mental health professional. Yeah, I mean, disclaimer. No, you know, I can't do that. That's beyond my expertise. Hi, Tom.
Oh, hi, guys.
Hey, there he is.
How's everybody?
Good.
Decided to close the blind to make it a little bit easier to see.
Yeah. Well, in fact, my computer is actually usually aimed this direction, but I turn it because I don't want to be against a window. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I got two windows, so I try to get close to the corner.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the idea. You don't want too much.
I want to do
Light
anything
behind
you
you.
can to make me look better, and I'm not sure I'm having any success.
What's
Well,
that?
there you go.
I want to do anything I can to make me look better, but I'm not having much success.
You know what? Here's my problem right now.
Yeah, I'm getting there.
Can't
And
get a haircut.
And my barber decided.
Just take
Zach doesn't have this problem.
My barber decided he's just going to quit, and retire, and that's it. So now I have to find somebody new.
Oh gosh. Yeah, Zach, you're lucky. You don't have this problem.
No, I just shave about twice a week and call it good.
Good guys always come out on top.
we should all buzz it and go buy wigs and make people wonder what we'll look like each day of the month.
Oh, dear. There's Wendy. Hey, Wendy.
Hello, how's everyone doing?
Good.
Good.
Hanging in there.
That's good. That's about all we can do, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, my daughter, whom I haven't seen since the last week of, she lives in Lincoln, but I haven't seen her. Oh, there's Jane. I was hoping you'd be on. But my daughter lives in Lincoln, and I haven't seen her in weeks and weeks. And she proposed that I bring my dogs over to her fenced-in backyard tomorrow, and they'll play for half an hour or so, and we can chat across the, you know. So anyway, something.
Good idea.
Yeah, Jane, I was hoping you'd be on so that we can talk more about what you and I talked about yesterday.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. With everyone.
Zach, where is your Disney background?
Oh, I can put that up again. I just haven't put it up yet. And I'm filling in for Steve, so I'm actually on Homestead Presbytery. I don't if I put it up and forget to take it down, then the next time Steve gets on, he would also have the Disney background. I don't know if he'd be as appreciative of it as I am. So
What, do you have a green screen or something?
no, in Zoom you can choose to change your background, or like to have you can upload a picture or even a short video clip, and it'll put that as your background.
Oh my. Okay. I had no idea. I'm technologically an idiot, but my bookcases are fine.
All right.
Hi, Zach. This is Susie Harder from Southern Heights and the
Hello.
disaster team. Hi.
How are you?
Hey, Susie.
I am well.
Good. Good.
Although I must say that the pollen from Oklahoma is blowing up with that heavy south wind today. And this time of the year is always a little challenge for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ding, ding.
Jimmy, you were talking about going over to your daughter's backyard. We met
Yeah.
my daughter Saturday in the parking lot of Freddy's in Lincoln to talk to him. I hadn't seen him since Christmas, so
Oh, cool.
we stayed our social distance apart and
Sure.
wore our masks and had a good
Mhm.
visit.
Mm-hmm. And I'm meeting couples preparing for weddings, and we have a 12-foot long table, and they're on one end, and I'm on the other end, and met a couple last night, doing another tonight, and they're both scheduled for August, and I told the couple last night, I don't know if it's going to happen, but you know, they know it. It's, you know.
I've also asked a couple to have Plan B, be ready to go to the local judge.
Yeah. Well, you know, one couple that is scheduled for August has already told me that if they can't do it, they just want their parents to come and meet me in the chapel, and we'll sign the papers and have a brief ceremony, and they'll be married, and then they can celebrate it later.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of a wise course at this point. Hi, Sue.
Hello.
Hi, Sue.
Hi, Susie. I'm glad we finally got on.
It takes a village.
Amen.
Cute cartoon this morning in the paper. I'm not sure if I'm on Zoom or watching an old Brady Bunch. Did you see that? You know, bing, 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 bing. There was a man who had.
Hey, Heidi.
Hi, Heidi.
Hi. Hi, Heidi. Susie.
I'm usually running late. So what time does it usually start
That's
up?
103.
It's 1:03. You can go ahead and start as far as I'm concerned.
Go
Yeah.
ahead and start. Okay. Because I know the link wasn't sent out this week, so some people are trying to find it still. But
I just saved
Yeah,
the link from last week.
I'm sorry.
I just saved the link from last week.
Yeah.
Me too. Zach, there was just an email from Jess that said she sent it out again, so we may have some more joining us.
Wonderful. Right. Well, we'll go ahead and let's see, get started. There we go. All right. So as we I didn't mute you, did I? As we go about, we'll just get started. Steve had something come up. He said he texted me late last night, said he had something come up, so he's not able to be here with us. Oh, here we go. And so I'll just kind of facilitate and go from there. If at any point you have something you want to chime in on, you can feel free to use the chat click the chat button down below and type ideas in, or there's a raise hand option as well, or just kind of flow your hand like this. Sue Bavovec is going to help me watch screens to make sure that if people have something they want to add, that we don't overlook you in the process. So she will be my co-pilot for today. But I thought that instead of doing some more formal introductions like we've done every other time, something I like to do with groups is and then as you share, introduce yourself as you speak for the first time. But just to hear kind of what's going on, what is something good, and we can go since last Wednesday or whatever, however long a period you choose. What is something good that has happened to you, around you, that you've seen or experienced? What is something not so good? And then where have you seen God played out in the last week or however long you wish to, whatever stands out to you. So something good, something not so good, and then also, where have you seen God or experienced God in the midst of what's going on in your life, in your ministry, whatever context you wish to put around that. So, and then when you're ready, if you just want to give a little wave or something, and I won't call names, which means that you're free to share. You're free to not share. You're free to share one or two of those answers or none whatsoever. And then I'll go ahead and share first. That way it gives time people to think about it. Hey, Dennis, how are you?
All right.
Good. All right. So something good that has happened since last Wednesday. And of course I had it. And then as I was explaining the instructions, I forgot it. Something good. Okay. So before Easter, my parents came and dropped off late Easter eggs out in our yard, and then parked, I don't know, like down the street and watched the girls find the Easter eggs from their car. And we kept the Easter eggs. And so last night, yesterday evening, our girls stuffed the eggs and we went and hid them in my parents' yard. And then my parents went Easter egg hunting in their yard. And that's how we returned them. So that was a lot of fun. It was good to see the girls get as emotionally involved as my parents. My parents ran around and climbed stuff. It was fun. So that was nice. Something that something that happened that's not so good is, let's see. My wife's an administrator in the school, and about every couple of weeks, they add more responsibilities onto administrators that are supposed to get finished before the end of the school year. So now we're talking about 5 weeks. And she works with the special education department. And so hers is a little more intense. And the fact that she has to have all these meetings with parents and with kids and with teachers and try to coordinate everything. So in the midst of that, then that means we have to even become more structured in our scheduling. And I need to take care of more of the kids. And it was something she hoped that they wouldn't have her do, but they are. So it's a little more added stress. And where I saw God this week since last Wednesday, I've had really good discussions with both family members and colleagues. And a lot of them have been unexpected, but I've felt the Spirit move within those conversations, and it's been something I've really enjoyed. So that's it for me. Hello, everyone who joined. I am not Steve, but I'm taking Steve's place. I have less hair on my head, and no glasses. So there you go. There's a big difference. But what we're doing is, if you're willing to share within the last week or however, whatever time frame that you want to make it, something good that has happened, something not so good that has happened, and where you've seen God or how you've seen God working. So is there anyone else? Yes, I got one right there. And I'm sorry, it just says 14024. I can't remember your name.
It's Susie.
Susie, thank you.
Susie Harder. Sorry about that. I don't know why my name won't come up. Anyway, maybe
That's
they
all
don't
right.
want to identify me. I'm Susie Harder from Southern Heights in Lincoln. And something good, the evening before last, we have a neighbor that, one of our neighbors, well, we got a lot of teenagers in our neighborhood, but the other night, one of our neighbors and his mom came by and to talk to my husband about something. We stood at the door. He's 17, he's a junior in high school, and he wants to find something that he can do for others related to the COVID-19 virus. And that's both a God thing and it was a good thing. I mean, the kids in our neighborhood are just so great. I mean, they're so helpful, and it's just such a blessing for us. And we know most all of our neighbors, and I feel sorry for people who don't know their neighbors. And I know there are here in Lincoln. Something not so good. I got a notification on my phone yesterday that said, you're supposed to be returning from Oswego, Illinois. And that made me very sad because we were supposed to have been at my daughter's in Illinois watching our 3 grandsons, but they didn't go on their thing. So we didn't go to see the boys. And it's been 6 months since we've seen any of our grandchildren in person. And it's like, anyway. And I guess I already incorporated the God thing. The other thing is, as the weather gets better, seeing all of the children out drawing on the sidewalks, some of the messages from some of the people, and our neighbor has this beautiful one that says, it's a rainbow, and it says, thank you to the caregivers and the essential personnel, I think, or something, but it's just a blessing to me. Anyway, that's it.
Thank you, Susie. For those who just got on, we are, if you choose, you can share something, introduce yourself and then share something that good that's happened within the last week, or, you know, if something good happened 2 weeks ago, share that, something that not so good that happened and where you've seen God. And you can choose to share all of them, share none of them. We're just kind of going around. And so if you are interested in going next, all right, John.
Thanks to Sue Babavec and others, I've been trying to find the link, and I was able to chase in my dust webby bun rat hole email library, found the web. Anyhow, good. This happened a week ago Sunday, on Easter Sunday, the first time our families used Zoom to have Easter with all of our grandsons and their family, our son and daughter-in-law, and then our son in Nebraska City, and with Kathy and me, and that was a delight. We were on for about an hour and a half. And on Facebook, my grandson made a rainbow of Legos of various engineering designs and whatever. I thought it was really sweet, and you could see his rainbow of creation on the floor with him behind trying to stack more Legos on. That was sweet to watch. Something not so good, more frustrating. Sometimes on Facebook, I find certain posts just aggravating. And there was one that basically was saying all of this coronavirus stuff is a hoax. And that, I'm sorry, that just sort of got me, and I had to challenge the guy and his misinformation as I saw it. And a God thing, I'm going to give something as simple as a breath. A group of us who studied spiritual direction together get together on a weekly basis for check-in, and that's part of a God thing. And this has been a God thing, and all the Zoom connections that I've had have been a fellowship that I have sorely missed, and I'm glad to have this. And it gives a new meaning and appreciation to community, and that we are all in this together. So that's what I would share.
Thank you, John. Jimmy, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, I didn't see the icon come up. I punched raise my hand on the, but I didn't see a blue hand come up. So anyway, no, yeah, I have a couple things. One, about 6 weeks ago, our grand niece gave birth cesarean section to a baby in Iowa City that was really, really early, weighed 1 pound, 1 ounce, 17 ounces, really early, but the umbilical cord had been kinked, and so the baby wasn't gaining anything, and so they had to take it. Cade is now 3 pounds, and that's almost triple of where he was born, and he's seemingly we don't know all the neurological stuff yet, but there's God's hand. Cade is coming along, and she's one of our favorite nieces, and it's like, oh my, yes. Another cool thing was that for Earth Day, our green team chairperson at Westminster was asking churches all over Lincoln to ring bells at 10 o'clock to celebrate Earth Day. And on Easter, we rang bells at noon, but our choir director, who usually does this, is busy moving right now. And so I got a remote lesson on how to get into the tower room and ring the bell. And he said, and if you want to play a melody, there's a little keyboard there. And so at 10 o'clock this morning, I took a Virgin flight into carillon ringing and played All Things Bright and Beautiful on our tower bell. And I had a few people knew that we were going to do that, and they actually came to the parking lot and listened. So that was cool. Just before I logged on, I haven't been into for a wellness check with my doctor, and I have some medication for rheumatoid arthritis and blood pressure that is on a continuing basis. And the Optum that we all have said, your doctor says you have to contact them before we'll renew your prescription. So I suppose it's just been too long since I've been in. But no doctors actually want to see you if you're healthy. So I don't know. I'll have to call them. So that's a little negative. And I am hoping that before we're done, Jane can talk to us about some of her ideas. So that's all.
Thank you, Tom.
Well, it's just something that I can't get out of my head. Since we met last Wednesday, you've probably read the news about what happened in Auburn. And then I serve the church in Nebraska City, but I actually live in Auburn. And we had, if you heard the news, one of the pharmacists in Auburn was in cahoots with a guy back east that distributes drugs on the black market. And the two of them had hatched a plan that they were going to firebomb and destroy the other pharmacy in Auburn so that he would have all of the business and could up the amount of drugs that he gets shipped into his pharmacy so that then he could ship more out to the East Coast for the black market. It's quite a conspiracy. And I used to get my drugs from this guy. In fact, when I would go in, he would always want to talk to me, and he was a really nice guy. He had wife and 2 kids. And when this is all going down, I can't believe that he was into this and going to do this. And this last Wednesday we met. Thursday, FBI came into his pharmacy and took his computers. Okay. So they weren't able to do very much because everybody's relying on a computer system. Monday, I had to get a couple prescriptions filled. So I went out there and he was there and he filled my prescription. He had to handwrite everything on the bottles and everything. And so I said, hey, this doesn't sound too good. What do you think about the future? And he says, oh, everything's going to be just fine. We'll be fine. The next day, the FBI came and arrested the guy, and he's gone, and the place is locked up. It's all done. But the thing that is significant to me is the guy who runs the other pharmacy in Auburn belongs to the church in Nebraska City. And he's married and have 2 kids, and we just love their family and their kids. And when this all settled in, that it's Cody's U-Save, and when he could have been at work and they could have hatched this whole thing, he could have been injured or killed, who knows what, the whole business. And we're just thankful that somehow maybe this is a God moment, that the Lord intervened here so that these guys couldn't carry this plan out. And so now, of course, Cody's the only one in town, so now he's my pharmacist, and he's happy about that, and I'm happy about that, and everything's going to work out fine in the end. So, but for a small town to have something like that happening, it's just been waka waka, and something for everybody to deal with, and kind of shakes the small town culture a little bit. Yeah. So that was the bad and the good and the God moment in there too.
Thanks for sharing, Tom. Wow, that's a story. Wow. Anyone else like to share something good, something not so good, and or a God moment, or where you've seen God?
I'll go for
Jim.
it. Yeah, Sunday, there was a gentleman in the church that I'm handling in Wayne that is gone into hospice care, and he's at St. Luke's Hospital in Sioux City. And it's very difficult to get into hospitals these days just to visit anyone. Well, I was able to get in and go to the ICU room where he was and do communion with him and a family. The whole thing was kind of surreal, and we've done hospital communions many times, but in this particular situation for this family and in that setting this time, it really was a God thing. It was a pretty cool incident. So and now that person has left the hospital to come to hospice care at home. So just moving along with that. So good moment. I guess a sad thing was there was a head-on collision, kind of a, Kathleen might be able to say more about that one of the members of the church here in Laurel, their uncle and wife were in a terrible accident. They walked away. There was one person was killed, but that's never a happy thing. And that's all I got.
Thanks for sharing, Jim. Who else would like to share? Kathleen. And then Dwayne.
I'll just piggyback on what Jim said. He said they walked away. They went to the hospital, but they're both going to be okay. They didn't have any life-threatening injuries. And it was the aunt and uncle of a session member. So it's a concern, of course, to all of us. A good thing was that we got to open up the screen, which we thought maybe Daddy would get in trouble for, but we took the screen out of his window and he got to have his dog on his lap for a little while we visited the other day at the care center. So that was a treat for him, because he just sees those 4 walls and that's it. He's in assisted living here in Laurel, and they have shut everything down. Everybody just has to stay in their room. So he misses his dog who lives with us. So that was a God thing, and that's it. That's mine.
Thank you, Kathleen, for sharing. Dwayne.
Yeah, I've just been amazed at how many folks are tuning in for the Zoom worship. we may have to continue it after this, because more than what comes to normal service. That's a positive. The negative is we have 4 kids, and we had vacations planned to see all of them like we normally do. We have already had to cancel 2, and probably going to have to cancel the other 2 that are in June. And the godly thing, there's a gal from Pawnee City, her family was here just a couple of years ago, and they moved to Lincoln, and she was number 7 in Lincoln to get the virus, and she has had that for 30 days now, in and out of the hospital. And finally, she's home, hopefully to stay. She's still in quarantine down in the basement, but she's doing a lot better.
Good. Sue.
For those of you who saw me clapping when Kathleen talked about the dog, you need to know the rest of my connection to her dad. Kathleen is Kathy to me. She and I grew up together outside of York. Our fathers were best friends, and her dad, who I know as Squeak, probably has known me longer than anybody that's still alive in the world. So that's pretty cool, and I love that kind of a connection. Maybe that's my God moment. I thought my God moment was going to be sharing those of us in Southern Heights Presbyterian that sing in the choir. We get to worship on Wednesdays right now because our choir director, Anita Elliott, who apparently never sleeps because she sends emails at 3 in the morning. This week's email included YouTube music for us to go to. She wanted us to do virtual singing, and we did she offered everything from the Abide With Me to a really funny Just Walking with Jesus, Walk a Little with Jesus, to the Lord's Prayer sung by the opera singer Andre, somebody that just recently did some other singing. And that was definitely a God moment. A fun thing this week since last time, today is Earth Day. And so I cashed in on that when I talked to my grandkids in Alaska and tied all of their lessons into something with Earth, whether it was the art that we did, their vocabulary, just using their mind, drawing pictures, building with Legos, and even got to sing with a 15-month-old for a little while. So that was fun. And probably the frustrating is not unlike John's Facebook. I'm not on Facebook, but some of the news that I hear is very frustrating, whether it's people wanting to open themselves back up before they safely should, or I just saw that the state of Missouri has decided to sue the country of China, which is very frustrating in my book. And that's political. I didn't mean to be, but that's the news. So that's my frustration.
Thank you, Sue. Sorry, I just moved from Missouri like 2 years ago, so that doesn't shock me that they're doing that. But yeah, I was there for 6 years, so.
I know they're called the Show Me State, but really.
Yeah. Anyone else like to share?
How about me?
Dennis, I see you.
Yeah, one of the great things is that I've been dabbling in watching services online, and I would recommend the Heritage Presbyterian service to you. They've done something very innovative in that they pre-record it and they patch it together and have different families doing the call to worship and the confession and the prayers, and people with children, so that everybody gets to contribute, and it's intergenerational and quite a God moment. So I would say that's a high point in virtual worship. That's it. Hanging in.
Thank you, Dennis. Appreciate it. Anyone else? Darren. And then Douglas.
So the low point is we're still stuck here and still trying to figure out. I like some things. We've learned lots of things, but I don't like doing an online service in an empty sanctuary. We too are going to continue to do those things. That's the high point for me is more frustration because the Presbytery supports a Great Plains Small Church Conference. We've had to change that date and work. If you don't know, everybody who has a conference in spring has moved it to fall. So there's overlap, to put it mildly. And we've changed ours to the 21st to the 23rd of September. So, but we're excited about that because one of the things that has come from that, the positive, has been this desire. We've been doing Zoom for the last 3 years to meet as a committee for the Great Plains Small Church Conference. And we're starting to expand our vision of what that's going to be. And so we decided to put together, there will be, and you'll hopefully get the information, a pastors conference, a summit at the end of May, where anybody can step in and we're gonna do some leadership encouragement for people and resourcing, but then also we're going to add a Zoom element to the conference itself. So, I think there was a God moment in all of that because we've been struggling to figure out how we don't even know what our future is going to look like at this point, and that's really disconcerting to me. You know, I mean, I've got my daughter here. My daughter's at Duke Divinity in Carolina, and she's been with me for the last 2 months. We're both ready for her to move back to North Carolina. I'm certain of that. She's having to do classes. You want to talk about bandwidth? We're all trying to function off of Wi-Fi, and it's not great in Panama, folks. And so we have our moments of Darren shutting his mouth and walking away and just saying, okay, I'll do that later, and all those things. So the God thing in it is we haven't killed each other. And I'm actually deeply impressed. I sat with her listening to her write. She had to write a paper and she had to do some things, and she's actually coming to Dad for advice, and input, which is equally frightening at one time or another on that. So it's really been a mixed bag, but enjoying it. We did find out some good news. She's been serving a full-time internship in Roxborough Long Memorial United Methodist Church, and they were going to take her for the summer, and that was a $10,000 employment. She has been unemployed since. She did find out that they're going to continue that, and she'll be able to go back to North Carolina, but she can't get a flight until June 7th. So pray for us. Pray for our normalcy, I guess. I am, and I'll pray for yours.
Thanks, Darren. Doug.
We had a good thing happen at our house. We received a postcard of all things in this time from a cousin in Kalispell, Montana, saying that he's missed hearing from us and wants to be in contact again. Just as out of the blue it came. We didn't get to say goodbye to each other at the last family reunion, and they were just wondering how we're doing and wants to hear from us. So how great. That's all I've got for this.
Thank you. Jane.
Well, I'm home, most of the time now, and my dog is loving it. And so, I'm taking her for lots of walks, but so is everybody else in the neighborhood. Everybody else and their cat and their dog is out going for a walk. And the good thing about that is that she has this thing about other dogs. And so whenever we go for a walk, if there's another dog within anywhere close by, within half a block, she goes ballistic. And I've been trying to, do some training with her on that. Well, there's lots and lots of opportunities for training just every time we go out for a walk. And so she's doing much better with that, actually, between the dogs and bicycles and baby carriages. Those are the things that she has issues with. So she's doing better. The God moment, you know, the Zoom meetings and, you know, all the Zoom stuff has its downsides and its frustrations. But one of the things I've noticed that I really think is a God moment is that it's allowing people in our congregation that wouldn't be able to participate either because of frailty or serious acute medical issues. It's been allowing them to participate in not only the worship service, but in Bible study and some other activities that they wouldn't have been able to participate in. And so it's helping all of us stay connected with them and them staying connected with us. And I can't help but think, as somebody mentioned, you know, we don't know what's coming down the pike or what the future is going to hold, but I can't help but think that some of what we're experiencing and learning with technology and just having to all of a sudden step out of the box with a moment's notice, which is totally not Presbyterian. You know, that we're going to come out of this learning something and with a new skill set and be able to do worship and do God in a slightly different way that may reach out to people that we haven't been able to reach out to before.
Thank you, Jane. Anyone else?
Jimmy here. I want to hear from Stephen. He just got out of the hospital.
Steve, you've been called out. So if you'd like to share, go ahead.
As I shared last time, it was a TIA that I had that on Palm Sunday that didn't hold, but I have about a 6-hour memory of Sunday afternoon that I have no memory of. Raking the leaves and cleaning out some rocks and the ride down to the Schuyler Hospital, all unknown to me. But apparently I was aware, but it's kind of weird. But it's gone well. Been watching blood pressure and getting that back under control. Hopefully dealing with medication that's dealing with stuff. I have an appointment in July for a vascular neurologist who's dealing with some apparent buildup of plaque in an artery in the right side of the neck. But everything else is going fine. That's kind of been a God moment that that's all come about, and just how people have reached out of concern and prayers and been deeply appreciated. Apparently got word to my old church. I've gotten a number of cards this last week from my former parishioners from South Sioux City. But last week I shared with you, I was a little late because I was meeting with a family setting up a funeral. They had visitation at the funeral home and trying to keep the 10-person in a room, and they did fairly well with that. And had graveside, but out there we had 25 to 30, but only under the tent was the family, and everyone else spaced themselves out without being asked. So we probably stretched it a little bit, but I think we made it work.
Thank you. I think that's about everyone who shared. So thank you for doing that. Oh, Heidi, there we go, Heidi.
Yeah, just quick check-in. One good thing, our local school district just announced their plans for graduation, and the school board has been very supportive of baccalaureate being a part of that. And so the ministerial and I are figuring out virtual baccalaureate this year, and that's exciting to be able to offer that. I don't know that it's so much negative, it's just a realization that ambition is sometimes there and sometimes not. And so just learning to go with it when it's present, and learning to have the downtime and being okay with that. And then a God thing, honestly, has just been a beautiful bunch of volunteer flowers that have come up in my yard this year. That are right outside my back door, and anytime I go out, it's just a true day brightener to see those. So plus as someone without a green thumb, the fact that they just came up and I don't have to do a thing to take care of them is a real plus. So.
Yes, that'd be a miracle for me too, is if flowers came up and I didn't have to do anything for them. That would be a well-received miracle on my part, yes. Karen, did you want to share? I think she's busy.
Yeah, I'm still here.
It's okay. If you don't want to share, that's fine. We didn't,
Yeah, I like to turn it off when I'm not yakking. I think the best good thing for me is this week is my last week of my Disciples History and Polity class with Phillips Seminary, and I cannot wait. Oh, it has been so much work. Yeah, so that's I have to do the final this week, and then that's done. And I feel like once that's done, I have a major piece off my plate, and maybe before all this craziness resumes, I'll get a little break. I'm not really holding my breath, because now I'm starting to think we got to start talking about re-entry, so to speak. So I'm trying to get some things in place so we're not caught as off guard by re-entry as we were by being thrust into this whole thing in the first place. So, and I guess the God thing for me is I connected with a national writers group kind of on a Zoom thing. So I'm trying to make some more space and time for some of the writing that I like to do that's not just about all the stuff I write for the church. So that's been kind of cool. Yeah.
Thank you. Now, I said that not everyone has to share. So has everyone shared who wants to share? Looks like so. Okay. So for this next one, we'll try not to take a whole lot of time, but I thought it'd be interesting for us to think about and share in this time that we're in right now. What is one thing that you have found that you've actually enjoyed? Maybe it surprised you, maybe it's not, but in this time that we've been isolated and distanced, what is one thing you found that you've enjoyed? And one thing that you found that you really do not like, you either knew it or you didn't. You're just not enjoying it at all. And then, so if you agree with it, and if you agree with someone who shares, kind of give a wave, so that way we see that we're not alone. And if you would like to add then something onto that later, that's fine too. So for my examples, as everyone thinks, I'm the cook of the house, and I have found that I really am getting tired of cooking 3 meals a day for the whole family. I really miss having lunch to not cook. I miss being able to go out with, either my wife, if she has lunch off, or with friends, or just being able to, throw a can of soup in and call it good. I'm really kind of getting tired of cooking all day, every day. But what I've really come to enjoy is being in worship with my family. And it's not at the church, but it's being able to sit down. And I've really come to respect my wife and how much she has to put up with when I'm not there. And she has 2 girls on her own, and we'll soon have 3 kids. So those are my 2 things. Is cooking is, I've found that I'm fine doing 2 meals a day. 3 meals a day is a little bit over the top. And then what I've really enjoyed is worship with family. So yes, Tom. Okay, so Tom and Susie.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tom was first, maybe, okay? I don't know.
Yeah, Tom raised his hand.
Okay, yeah. Good.
Okay, well, what I wanted to say, something that I have found is that I'm feeling like I'm getting to know all of you in a much more personal way, and I'm putting your names and your faces together better. When I only see you at Presbytery three, 4 times a year, it's hard to keep track of who's who, and when we're so many miles apart. And I think that this has been very valuable to me anyway, to feel connected to all the pastors in our presbytery. And maybe that's something that we should continue on in perpetuity, even if things do get back to whatever normal is. Because it's been very good for me to feel like I know you and your situation better than I ever did before. In terms of something that I found that I don't lack is, or that I don't like is trying to continue to adapt at my age to all of this technological stuff. You know, I think I do pretty good. In fact, my grandson had a friend of his was over, and grandson said that his friend Josh was very impressed that Grandpa was into high-tech stuff. I was like, oh my gosh. So I think I do pretty good, but yet I feel very pushed to the limit to try to do. Some people now want me to be able to put a picture of the bulletin up there on the screen while I'm still doing church with Facebook, and I don't know how in the world I'm going to do that. So it's, I guess it's a sign people appreciate it, but on the other hand, I'm stretched about as far as I think I could go. So that's it.
Thank you, Tom. There were quite a few people who were agreeing with you on both of those, both the positive and the thing you haven't liked as much. So we'll go Susie, and then I see Jim raised, or I'm sorry, Jimmy raised his hand.
I just have to go along with you, Zach, about the meals. You know, as a parent, I was a stay-at-home mom years ago, and I made those 3 meals a day, every day. Kids came home for lunch, and now since I've been retired, you know, I didn't have to do that. But now I'm having to make those meals again. And I've done more cooking the last month and a half than I have done in a long time, and I'm tired of it. But it is, but I still know how to do it, I guess.
Well, I'm with you, Susie. I'm with you.
Yeah, Zach, I'm also the chief cook in our house, and I've used all the standard recipes. But I have to share this picture that my wife took. We have a dog, a Yorkshire Terrier, that just adores Animal Planet and just watches with, you know, Animal Planet, yes. But when we were watching worship, I don't know if I can get this to where, okay, so when we're watching worship on Sunday on our YouTube, I'm afraid he does not quite have the same attention for Dad as he has for Animal Planet.
Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy. That's great. Sue, did you have your hand up, or were you doing emotions? Otherwise, we'll go to Dwayne. Sue,
No, I did.
Dwayne, you're next.
I like cooking, and so I don't mind at all. Of course, I've been doing the 3 meals a day since I live alone and been retired. But what I miss is grocery shopping, and I know I'm weird with that, but I love just walking the aisles of the store to see what's new. And this week, for the first time, I have ordered groceries online. I will pick them up at Hy-Vee tomorrow morning. I had enough ahead that I hadn't done anything until now, but I miss grocery shopping, which is probably the only one in the world that does, but I miss that a whole lot. And the thing that I've discovered that I really like, I always said I had the world's smallest patio because I have a slab of cement outside my back door, and I had really never used it last summer because I thought it was too tiny and it didn't have anything to it. And what I've discovered is it has beautiful sun in the later afternoon, and it is protected on the east and the north from the wind. And so even on windy days, it's a pretty good place to be.
Kathleen says you're not alone. She commented that she too likes grocery shopping, Sue, so you're not alone in that. I believe it was Dwayne was next, and then we'll go John.
My neighbor right across the street, I'm right on the edge of town here. I see country on a couple sides of my house, and the guy right across the street, a young guy, built a fence on his few acres there, and now he has 2 heifers out there and 2 bottle calves, and I just love looking out and seeing them and going over once in a while and letting them suck on my finger. It's just a lot of fun for me, this old farm boy that I am. So yeah, and a negative, you know, I just have never been able to take days off or vacation days and still be at home. I really miss getting away from work.
Are you finding that you're able to be at home? I mean, you're obviously at home more, but is it easier to kind of take some time to yourself in the midst of this? Or do you still feel like you need to continue to be doing something?
Well, my office is in a home, which doesn't help, but I just get calls from, you know, folks. I help with I do the ministerial money as far as folks, and that's a big part of yeah, every day, helping people financially.
Thank you for sharing, Dwayne. We'll go John and then Jim.
Yeah, let's see. One thing that I have liked, I could agree with a lot of the cooking things, but Kathy and I shared before, like to just do creative things in the kitchen. And so that's been a very intimate time together. I've been surprised at how more I have to go shopping for coffee. I have my Keurig pods, and usually those would last me a good long time, but the number of cups of coffee that I have a day, those pods get gone. And I've been grinding a lot of coffee and putting them in filters in the pods. And even the ground coffee is now going out. So I guess that's something I find frustrating. One thing that's big is I shared one of the God things was having Zoom with our family. That was delightful. But on the other hand, in the near future, my wife and I had intended this summer to take a auto trip by car out to see our family in New York. And right now, for the foreseeable future, that doesn't look very practical unless we see some stability. Everybody's wondering what the new normal is going to be. And I'm just waiting, frustrated, anticipating, wondering what all this means. As one who's retired, I do have enough to keep me busy. Just got a bunch of new calling lists from church that my wife and I are going to do. And so I look forward to that. But in the meantime, keep on plugging away. Each day's a journey. That's all I got.
Thanks, John. Jim Split.
Good. A lot of things. Now, I like to cook, and Kathleen does like to go food shopping. I went with her to Hy-Vee the other day, and you know, I was just thinking I could carry one of those baskets. No, but we had 2 full carts. It was like we had to stock up on stuff. Anyway, one of the things that this is done, I participate in AA. I've been in AA for 36 years, and I don't share that usually with anybody because it's an anonymous group, but I've connected. Everything's on Zoom now. And I used to belong to a group in Indiana when we lived out there, and how cool it is to be with some folks that are really very, very, very close friends who are, you know, not here in Nebraska, but back in Indiana. So that's just kind of one thing that is, you know, for me has been exceptional. And then I'm improving on my my little playing some hammer dulcimer, you know, so that's been kind of fun, you know. And so, but anyway, just some fun things that you know. Oh, and I miss the coffee group. I'm not much of a coffee drinker. I'm nothing like Dooling. I mean, Dooling's a coffeeholic, but I don't. There's a group that I go to about 8 o'clock in the morning, and then another group at 3 o'clock, and you know, it's a bunch of us cronies who love to get together for coffee. That hasn't happened. And in small time group, if you're not going to the coffee, place and watering hole with people, that's where a lot of conversation goes on about what's going on. And me, seeing the farmers and talking to them. So I really, really miss the coffee group here. That's all I got.
Thanks, Jim. Doug, and then I'm going to go to Jane because Jane has something she wants to ask the group just for some feedback. And then Sue has something to share as well, I believe, and that'll bring us close to the end. So, Doug, go ahead.
Coffee always gets my attention. Our coffee pot broke a number of months ago. So instead of running out to buy another one, I just said, hold off for a little bit. We were at the grocery store and I found some freeze-dried coffee. Yeah, I know, freeze-dried. Bear with me, you'll be amazed. Always save. Red and yellow label, freeze-dried coffee. The finest coffee I have ever had in my life. From fresh ground to anything else to micro specialty coffees, this puts them all to shame. I am amazed at it. I'm getting back to drinking 3 pots before lunch. Good stuff. I have really enjoyed recording and learning the various apps and programs for doing that. But in this time, so many folks on Sunday mornings are able to worship at different congregations through their recordings and seeing what other folks are doing. I'm feeling a lot of pressure from hearing people talk about what others have done. There are some amazing congregations with tech abilities and some very gifted pastors who are putting on daily thoughts and messages and devotionals and Bible studies. And I am overwhelmed with that. I can't do that. Maybe at one time I could have, but I can't keep up and do that stuff now. So I'm overwhelmed, and I'm also feeling rather pressed upon as though I'm not doing enough with it, since I just can't do all that with it. So I'm really wondering what should we be doing, not asking what's a bare minimum, but what should we be doing besides Bible studies and other stuff that we can be doing together, sermons, but what else is really needed at this time? And I just like to have some of that pressure relieved from me feeling inadequate.
Thanks, Doug. If anyone else feels like Doug feels right now about that, just give a little shake your, a little wave, just so you see, Doug, there's quite a few of us that feel the same way. So we're all being probably compared against each other, and yet and so we all feel inadvertently pressured by what each other is doing, but we also still feel that way. So thank you for sharing that. We appreciate it. All right, Jane, go ahead.
Which actually ties in, what I wanted to talk about ties in with what Doug was just kind of talking about. A couple of weeks ago, I brought up the idea of starting some kind of a group, of a process group, or however we wanted to define it, as a means of providing some pastor-to-pastor support. And originally, I'd been thinking about that for a while because I know there's a lot of stress and I need to be connected. That's not necessarily happening. And I was thinking, well, gee, all this is going on. Now's not the time to do something new. Let's put it off. And then I immediately, after having that thought, realized that actually this was the time to try to do something like that. So I've talked to several of you that are here today. I've talked to over the past few days, trying to get a feel for what you all might find to be value added. Because I can come up with something that sounds good to me, but if it's not what you guys need, then you're not going to come. It's not going to be value added. So I'm interested in some feedback from you all as far as what would be helpful. Because I'm thinking that something, if we can pull something together, and I'm thinking, small groups, 6 to 8, and could do more than one if there was enough interest, but a small enough group so that there could be some real discussion, some problem solving, some connectedness, So anyway, it's in the planning stages, and I'm interested in thoughts that you all have as far as what would be helpful. Not only now, but down the road as well.
Anyone have any ideas they'd like to share? Or you can type them.
What wouldn't be helpful?
Or what, yeah, what would not be helpful? Doug.
Well, I'm very much interested in a group like that, but would want everyone in the group to absolutely promise that what's mentioned stays there. I've been a part of another group or so where it was not, and it created so much trouble for me. I won't go through that again. But I would like to be a part of a group in which we are truly there for one another and keep our things private.
Thank you for sharing, Doug. Appreciate that. Anyone else?
Yeah, I would jump in on that. I work with the State Patrol as a chaplain here out of Norfolk office, and a big deal. In fact, I'm going to be doing a sort of a statewide webinar tomorrow night with some of our first responder people in the state. Peer support, peer support, peer support, peer support, peer support. For anybody that's a caregiver of any kind or a first responder, is to develop relationships, professional relationships in law enforcement. It's trooper to trooper, or EMT to EMT, where you have 2 or 3 people who are in your peer support team. And this is one of the things that they're saying right now is in terms of survival, mental, spiritual, physical survival, is those folks who are in peer support groups are doing better. Now, that relates to clergy, and let me just cut this. Lilly Foundation found the same thing true for clergy, that if you're in a professional support, what they called an accountability group, it helps you professionally and keeps you spiritually, mentally, all that healthy. So I would just underscore that as far as one of the things that maybe Janet would be, is how to develop peer support within our, collegial, in the presbytery. I've got tons of resources because I went through the peer support training for the State Patrol. It's really, really beneficial. So.
Thanks, Jim. Anyone else?
Yeah. Any other thoughts?
By a show of hands, maybe this might help you, Jane, who would be interested in being part of a group like this? If you want to raise your hand, if you'd be interested, maybe that would give Jane some idea.
Yeah, okay. Because I'd like to pursue the idea, and what I've been hearing from people that I've talked to is that something along the peer support idea, where it could bring issues, do some problem solving, get support for what's going on type of thing, would have more value for more people than more of an educational Bible study, type of thing. It's kind of what I'm hearing so anyway, I was interested in running that, sort of putting that out there and see what you all would think about that.
Hey, Zach?
Yes.
Yeah, Jane and I talked a good deal about this yesterday. What would be helpful if you're interested, so that we got it on in recorded form, is just type your name into the chat box and say that you're interested in participating in a peer group, cohort group. And that way we'll have your names in that, and I'll have it as a written kind of thing that we can start with.
Or even send me an email or drop me a line, you know, if you think about it and then think later, gee, this would be something I'd be interested in.
Yeah.
Darren, is your hand raised?
My wife has been a part of a group. They call them covenant groups. We've called them covenant groups, whatever you want to call them. Our covenant groups are a little bit different. She's a United Methodist pastor. The piece that she finds strength from is just what Doug is talking about. These are friends, and though they all do ministry together and they talk church and they do all of those things, there's not a, how do I say this, an institutional element to it. It is more of support for each other, and they have moved away. This is where this Zoom has done really well, because now because some have been reappointed and moved to other parts of the state or other states. So I think it's a great idea, and I want to go forward with it.
Thank you, Darren.
And Jane, I'll just speaking personally, but I do have such a thing on my Lutheran end of things. I would love such a thing on my Presbyterian end of things.
I would, sorry, I would concur with my Lutheran sister. We're Lutherans because my parents were Lutheran, and so my wife and I, when we do visit and have visited family, we've gone to a Lutheran church, so we do understand and have the same hunger.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for the feedback. And like I say, feel free to drop me a line, email, or call me if you have thoughts or ideas, or just want to let me know you're interested. That'd be great.
Thank you, Jane, for bringing that to the group. I think Darren keeps pointing at himself, so I think he's interested. Sue, you had something you wanted to share with the group too.
I wanted to give you all a heads up. We spoke about it briefly last week. Later today, you will be getting an email from the Presbytery office announcing a webinar that is sponsored by Presbyterian Disaster Assistance. The disaster team met last Friday evening by Zoom, and we met with Kathy Riley from the PDA, and she declared and described for us some of the options that were available for some pastoral self-care, and expanded it to not only pastor but to church leaders. So make sure that any others in your church are aware of this as well when you get the email. It's going to tell you that it is a week from yesterday. It is on Tuesday evening, the 28th of April. It will be at 7 o'clock, and it is a Zoom call, but we will have as our guests not only Kathy Riley, but also John Cheek and Suzanne Mallory. John is from De Cristo Presbytery, Suzanne from Santa Barbara Presbytery, Kathleen is in the Louisville area, and they are all trained with PDA and do seminars on resiliency and pastoral care, usually doing it on site where there's a disaster. But they've become to realize that with what's going on with the COVID-19, they needed to create something along the lines of a Zoom for more people to participate, and since we can't travel as easily. Kathy's description of it is they're going to talk a few minutes about some self-care, whether it's how to take a day off when you're in the house already that you're also working in, whether it's some breathing and relaxation techniques, some of those sorts of self-care, having fun, laughing. But then it's going to be open for questions that you can type into the chat room that they will discuss. But they said also if everybody's quiet and doesn't want to talk, they have plenty prepared to share as well. I think it's a really good thing to do. It's funded by some of our contributions to PDA through the One Great Hour of Sharing. A great way to see some of your own dollars, the benefits therefrom. So I hope you will seriously consider being a part of it. I know there's not a night that would match for everybody, but we tried to avoid Mondays and Fridays, which traditionally are pastor days off, tried to avoid Wednesday for church night. So it is Tuesday night, April 28th, and we put it in the evening for those who are bivocational and or those who are blessed to still have children running around the house that maybe with another person to help curtail them and entertain them, they would be able to participate. So from the disaster team of Homestead Presbytery, it's one of our gifts to you. We hope you'll take advantage of it.
Will that be recorded, Sue? Will that be recorded? Will that be recorded for those who can't be there and might want to watch it later?
I will find that out. I would hope so. I will find out. Because it comes from Homestead Presbytery, because we're originating the Zoom call, and I know that we record them, I would assume it would be recorded, but I will double check that.
Yeah, we'll be recording it from our platform.
Okay.
John, any question?
Yeah, I guess maybe it was answered in your. Do I hear that you are going to record this and play? Is this Central Time, Daylight Time?
Yes.
And it will be locally 7 o'clock on next Tuesday, the 28th.
That is exactly correct, and the others will all adjust their time to match us. Yes, they will actually be on the call with us, no matter whether it's 8 o'clock for them or 5 o'clock for them.
Is there a registration on this?
There will be as soon as, I just texted Jess again to verify it. She said that she has one paper she wants Steve to review, and after that it will be sent out by email yet today.
Okay, I'll be looking for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Of you will consider being on it as well.
Yeah, thank you. It is 2:10 to 11, so I do want to be sensitive to time. If there is anything else real quick, okay, so Darren, and then otherwise if someone would like to close us in prayer, unless Steve has any closing remarks, we will wrap up our time together.
Just a question for, I think, largely Brother Earl. Our session meeting is normally tonight, and we'll have it. But we are going to be looking to the presbytery for the okay to go ahead with when we can meet as a community, and not trusting any. I mean, I think that seems like a logical place to go when we can get the go ahead in Nebraska. Is that okay, or is that part of that? Can we do that?
To do what? Say that again, Darren.
Well, our church is going to inevitably, the question is going to be, when can we meet as a congregation again? And we'll probably be looking to the presbytery for that opinion, rather than relying on other places, if you get what I mean.
Right.
Is that an accurate, can we do that?
Can you look to the presbytery, or can you open under state guidelines that say no more than 10 and social distancing?
Well, I guess that's my question. Is the presbytery going to make a statement at some time for us to have the go-ahead, or should we be looking at other resources?
Well, I think, I mean, at this time, the presbytery has not taken any kind of official stand on a church closing or opening for worship in person. We've offered guidance, and based upon General Assembly guidance, and from the Senate as well. What I'm telling folks, as long as there are directives in the state, whatever we're calling them, mandates, directives, or whatever, it is our strong recommendation that you do not violate those recommendations.
We have no intention of doing that. We're just wanting, yeah, I'm sure I'm wanting to know who can I trust to make that decision. You know, is there a place other than, I mean, I understand going to the state. I just didn't know if the presbytery was going to give advice on that or not. If not, then that's fine.
I'm pretty sure that we will be, as the talk gets more about opening. The council will be meeting next week. That probably will be a topic of discussion for us when we meet. is what kind of advice and recommendations do we give to the presbytery as we move through this. My personal opinion is that we are nowhere near the place of talking about reopening churches physically present to each other right now. You all have looked at the predictions of numbers and all that, and Nebraska's not at our peak yet. It's going to be another, what, week and a half so?
Right.
So, you know, my thinking is we need to get through this, through April to the middle part of May before we start talking about anything moving in that direction.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Is that kind of what you're looking for, Darren?
Susie, did you have your hand up?
Yeah, and, oh, sorry. Speaking as can you hear me? Yeah.
Yep.
Speaking as a retired nurse and a former infection control person, I do want to encourage us not to be in a big hurry to get together in close large groups, because there's still some question out there as to what rural Nebraska is really going to look like. And Darren, I know you're in rural Nebraska, so at least a couple of weeks yet we have to deal with this. And don't get me wrong, I don't love it any more than anybody else does, but my concern is for the health of everybody, and I really think it would be wise to just hold off a little bit, like Steve said. I just want to enforce your comment.
Yeah, thank you, Susie, and we need that very much. I just talked to my colleague in Central Nebraska Presbytery today. What Grand Isle and that area is going through right now is there is potential that that's going to bring more here. I mean, we're not through with this at all. So, but that's a good comment. I have a question, Derek, and a good reinforcement, Susie. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's probably a question that a lot of us are wrestling with, those who have to look at churches. My mom works for the university, and they're already talking about possibly having all classes online for the fall semester this year.
Yeah.
Because they don't know if they're gonna be able to come back. I mean, so yeah, it's a lot of us are anticipating hopefully getting this done soon. I mean, but there are bigger entities than our churches that are saying we may not be able to go back until sometime in 2021 or something like that too, which is, I mean, geez, I mean, think about the rest of the year, think about Christmas, not being able to gather. I mean, yeah, that can cause a lot of anxiety. So I think it's a good thing to keep discussing, and yeah, I mean,
let's just pray it doesn't go till Christmas, okay?
Yeah. Zach, I do have one other thing I'd like to check with the group before we end up. Is we're looking at the possibility of the presbytery offering technology upgrade grants to congregations in the presbytery that would need that kind of thing. We're looking at what the maximum amount might be. Like some presbyteries are doing up to $1,500 grants for churches that need technology upgrades to do worship in the current context. Would that be helpful to any of you all as pastors in churches or clerks or church leaders? Say yeah, raise your hand if that would be helpful to you as a congregation, okay? Okay, we hope to have something maybe put together by the council meeting next Thursday and then be able to put it out. I'm working with several folks on that, so. But thank you, Zach, for facilitating this meeting. I had my first doctor's appointment by virtual means, kind of weird, but it worked. Thank you, Zach and group, for being here.
Yeah, so is there anyone who'd like to close us in prayer? He asked to a bunch of pastors. Darren, you got it? Darren volunteered, so go ahead, Darren.
Let's pray. Almighty God, our our task before us is sometimes daunting and certainly amazing. We thank you for gathering us together, and I thank each and every person for what they bring to this table and what they're bringing to their congregations and communities. We pray you'll continue to help us be creative in how we serve you. And Lord, we need you to whisper in our ears when to take a break, and we need you to whisper in our ears or sometimes scream at us when we have opportunities and to grab the bull by the horns and do it. Lord, whatever you have shown us and continue to show us, we know you are alive, and we know that you are a healer, and we know that you want nothing but the best for us. Help us to keep that in our hearts as we go forth, as we go to serve each other and your communities. Lord, be with us and strengthen and guide us in your name. Amen.
Have a good week, everyone. Thanks for coming. Good to see you.